our March, this is March, but it should be May of 2025 meeting. We got a retro. Anyway, oh, I grabbed the wrong one, never mind. Do you have a updated? I grabbed the wrong one out of my
Is
stack.
that why you were driving around Atlanta? Asking me questions about, where's that project at?
Out of order. We don't have a bailiff to escort him out the back, do we? I did check on the couple proper, I had the proper ones in there too. I'll go ahead and call our May 5th meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our April 7th meeting. Are there any changes or requests that need to be made on that? If not, I'll ask for a motion for the consent agenda. Hunter? I'll
That's
ask
the
for
only
a
item.
motion to approve the consent agenda or the minutes, either one is there.
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Do I have a second? Any further? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any, and
Abstain.
one abstention, two abstentions.
Oh,
Motion passes with two abstentions. Moving on to our regular agenda, we have old business, SD 2304.
I did want to add a quick discussion to the old new business. It's actually related to the extension request. In October, you all saw a case on the property you see on the screen. It's a new zoning request, a PUD for East Lake. That was tabled until December specifically. We have been working with the applicant. It was tabled at their request a few times. And recently, I think there is a revisit of that project and looking at some revised plans that kind of maybe spins a little bit of what we've seen to date on its head a little bit, but we haven't seen those next plans. So I just want to kind of publicly, since there was an extension publicly stated that it would be back in front of us in December, that that's still an active case. Once it's ready for the planning commission, we will re-advertise that, not try to sneak it back on the agenda or anything like that. So, and of course, they'll be in our staff reports and packets. Related to that, the extension request you see, this is for the Clump PUD preliminary plat for this property. The current PUD does not expire. So the one approved originally in before I got here, so, okay. And amended twice, has no expiration. So the preliminary plat that we have and approved almost 2 years ago expires next month. So there is a recommendation for extension of that, or a request for extension of that preliminary plat. I see the benefit of keeping that rolling from staff level. There's a lot of reviews that went into that one, about 9 months. Just from efficiency's sake of not starting over on that preliminary plat, I see a benefit to granting an extension, but that's up to the planning commission if you want to grant an extension or not. Yeah. Right, the plat that you approved is roughly shown there with the conditions. If you recall, there is one condition that we still are not aware of. There was some wetland clarifications. I think Eric, you and GMC at the time had some conversations about that, but this is the plan for that, in general, for that preliminary plat with a lot of extra documentation that was in those packets. So if the newly proposed zoning request would overwrite this and the previously approved PUD if recommended for approval and given by the city council. And then that would follow up with an additional preliminary plat.
We've normally done this to try to encourage people to improve projects that we have been working on and have, done one pretty much carte blanche, but as Hunter and I did discuss that, we feel like that it's probably fair to give an extension, but then, we discussed if we do that, we would still require a re-advertisement before it comes back, because we wouldn't want anybody to think that we're, kind of baiting and switching, that, we have this and with the public hearing, and then they make, wholesale changes, and, we approve those wholesale changes without any, public notice. So we did discuss that, we should, if we do take this route and the commissioners, agree to that, that we should definitely re-advertise when it comes back.
So, just to be clear, if they make all the thing that was extended until December, that would come back under this preliminary plat? Would be a different one?
Look, that is a separate case. That is a zoning case. That is a brand-new PUD request. That's the only thing that they have in common, is it's
Proposals
the
for
same
plot of land.
plot of land.
Yeah.
Yes, same land, piece of land. So if that was approved, it would effectively erase the preliminary plat and all PUD and amendments before on this same piece of land.
Commissioners, any thoughts, questions, concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion one way or the other.
How often are we extending, and what is the number of extensions so we can be sure that we're consistent on how we do this?
Yeah. So there hasn't been too many preliminary plats that haven't been acted on. There was one recently that did give it a 1-year extension. On 181, you did give an extension for that. Other than that, most of the ones we've seen have been under construction, much of the time significantly under construction. And I think that's been kind of a 1-year extension, or the first extension's been almost a guarantee. And we kind of tell people that if you're 90% of the way, it's more of a question, are you going to get an extension? We feel that pretty confident you'll get one. What's the time limit? And you've given 90-day extension, 1-year extensions, 2-year extensions, and even some odd numbers, because people knew exactly what date they had to hit. So for that first extension, I think you've given those pretty freely. We just haven't seen too many requests when it hasn't been acted on. And when there's a potentially better project coming, has not been the scenario we've dealt with since I've been here. You had about 6 months before me. Do you recall one?
Well, we had them back in 2009 and 10 when the economy stunk. It wasn't uncommon, that out there at Leonard Smart's property, that was the Falls, Fairhope Falls was extended similarly.
Work with us to do this, or we'll go back to this one. Doesn't seem like it.
I can see where you would have that opinion. I kind of view it as, well, we approved one. We didn't give us enough heartburn to deny it
Have
when
we
it was a
ever
zoning
had two at
case.
once? Two different proposals that are simultaneously, out there?
Well, I'd say
There's certainly been plats that are in zoning that has not expired. I mean, we got MOPs that have been floating for 12 years, didn't expire. So we've reviewed other cases that would change those.
what's a little different with this one is that the zoning is a planned unit development that has an approved site plan. So if the preliminary plat does expire, they would just come in for new preliminary plat to match the existing approved site plan that there is. So we haven't had a case where we had a subdivision just in a base zoning that was expiring while also reviewing a new subdivision application for the same thing, that if one expired, that they could swap it out with or have two approved plans on one site. That has not been the case. It's that because there's an approved PUD that already has that site plan governing what that subdivision plat will look like. Then the subdivision review and approval is reviewing it for the subdivision regulations, the drainage, traffic, those sort of things, and utilities. So we're not approving one and then having this one left on the table to kind of, which one do we want to do? It's, the zoning is still going to be dictating that.
Well, we had a similar thing across the street on the Columbus property where where we had, restaurants and then a hotel project, and, we had a number of different subdivision plans come out on the PUD right
That
across the street.
amended the PUD after 20 years. Yeah, it did do that.
That was
You know,
pretty similar.
and that's kind of one of the things we thought about, like, in some zoning cases, if the preliminary plat expires, the whole project expires, it starts over. The PUD dictates and does not expire the layout, kind of what we're looking at here. So it really is the more subjective, getting through the engineering and that sort of thing. It doesn't, I could kind of,
Doesn't expire, just the
Correct.
preliminary.
that's
Okay.
right.
Even if the preliminary plat were not to be given an extension by all, the PUD still controls and the PUD would still be in place.
And, while I don't see significant, anything can change, I don't see significant subdivision regulations. That might be one reason you want all plats to expire, because we're gonna implement new subdivision regulations, and we want all new ones to follow. I don't see major changes to those subdivision regulations in this year period.
And even if they did, they still couldn't alter the existing PUD. To the extent they were contradictory to the existing approved PUD, the approved PUD would control.
For uses, density, things like that. That's dictated through the PUD. That does not expire.
We'll have a motion. (2304) SD.
23.04. 1 year is the request.
I move we grant an extension of 1 year to SD 23.04 for preliminary plat approval.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Moving into new business, SD 2506, Harvest Green East Phase 2.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to excuse myself, and staff has told me I'm not helpful, so I'm just going to leave at this point because my understanding is staff has the last case in order as
Monroe
well.
County advanced dental without you.
Unless
Are
commission,
you gonna go get us a table for Cinco de Mayo? I hope. Everyone, let me see.
unless commission wants me to hang around for the dental case, I'm happy
Get us a
to.
table for 24 for Cinco de Mayo, and that'll be just fine.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, 525.
Good evening, Mike Jeffrey, City of Fairhope. So this is the final plat for Harvest Green East Phase 2. It's a 108 lot subdivision, approximately 55 acres. It's located on the east side of Highway 181 across from the Waters subdivision. On the screen on the left is the zoning map. On the right is the aerial. Screen is a snippet of the plat. This is the last and final phase on the east side for Harvest Green. It is connecting to Phase 1 of Harvest Green East. In general, there was 4 phases. Phase 1 West was finalized May of 2024. Harvest Green East Phase 1 finalized July of 2024. Harvest Green West Phase 2 is currently under construction, and then East that we have tonight has been built in accordance to the designed engineered plans of the approved preliminary plat. All conditions of that preliminary plat have been met. There were discussions, if you'll recall, from the Phase 1 preliminary with the lift station, the location of that, and we had an easement with Phase 1 to get to that lift station. Those easements are no longer needed as it exists within what will be the right-of-way being dedicated with Phase 2, and that lift station is on a dedicated lot to be dedicated to Fairhope Utilities. Here's a current aerial actually taken today. North is to the right of the screen. You can see Phase 1 and 181 at the top of these images. It has been stabilized, the roads are in, street trees are in, all utilities are in, retention and detention ponds have been stabilized. Some follow-up activities is a copy of the recorded plat within 120 days, provide a copy of the recorded O&M agreement, and provide the maintenance and guarantee agreement shall be executed by the subdivider, and then the mayor will do the final execution of that, and then at that point, we'll have the maintenance bond for acceptance. Staff recommends conditional approval of SD 2506 Harvest Green East Phase 2, subject to the following conditions, is completion of those follow-up activities. Be happy to answer any question that you have on staff, and we have SE Civil and the developer with us tonight that can answer questions on behalf of the applicant.
Questions for staff at this time? All right, y'all at SC Civil, do y'all have anything to add at this time? In that case, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to speak? In that case, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, SE Civil is here if you have any questions for them or staff. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I do want to just commend, both developer and Cameron Thatcher's here with the developer, but also a lot of our public staff, our city staff. This is the first final plat we've seen in the 6 years I've been here that's coming into you this complete. And that came from a new positions in the city, working hard with the developer and contractors out there every day, and an effort on the other side as well. So do appreciate the process. It was easy on my side. I didn't have to make 20 site visits in the last month. So just want to give y'all an update on some of the processes we've been working on.
Excellent. Commissioners?
I move we give conditional approval of SD 25.06 Harvest Green East Phase 2 final plat subject to staff conditions, completion of follow-up activities.
Do I have a second? Any further? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Last item on the agenda is SD 2507.
Okay, this is Advanced Dental, and some of you guys might recognize this. I'm hearing some. Okay, so SC Civil on behalf of the owner, which is the Single Tax and Fritz Hirschberger DMD LLC for preliminary approval of Advanced Dental. It is an 11-unit multiple occupancy project. It started in case subdivision 2217 applies to this because that approved the buildings on site, but the second building actually never got built, so that's why we're here tonight. The property is approximately 2.75 acres and is located on the east side of State Highway 101, just a quarter mile south of County Road 48. It's zoned B4, has approved site plan that was reviewed in 2015, and the building layout, parking, landscaping, detention is all in compliance with that approved site plan from 2015. So that's where it is. Some of you guys might get your fangs clean there. This is the approved site plan previous, and this is the proposed one, so you can kind of see that it's kind of a mirror, almost a mirror image of it, so there you go. So this is the second half. There's a site analysis. It's the same as it was before in the previous case. All connections and work in the ALDOT right-of-way will require permitting from ALDOT. It's our understanding that the applicant reached out to ALDOT on February 12th and still waiting for some information about the installation of our fire hydrant. Baldwin EMC's electric provider, sewer is handled via on-site septic. The health department has been involved and approved it. Fairhope Utilities is the gas provider and water provider. Fire hydrant has to be added to meet the subdivision regulations. It's my understanding it's lying it's lying out there waiting for ALDOT. So, and there's been a utility plan submitted too about how that's going to be installed. And AT&T has said they can service the telecommunications and internet service there.
There's not going to be an additional curb cut, is there?
Nope. Same as it is. Same as it was. BMP plan was submitted and reviewed, just so SE Civil knows, but they'll be in touch when those things come through. It's noted that the south of the concrete washout area is a potential concern, and there might be additional measures needed as construction begins. SE Civil provided a traffic letter. It did not trigger a traffic study. The required parking is 57 spaces, 58 are provided, which is well within the 20% overage, which could be 67, and there are 7 permeable parking spaces provided in this phase. And there's a little highlighted cutout of that. So drainage pond was constructed with initial build, and the engineer provided a letter stating the pond was built to conformance of the original design, and the original design incorporated this second phase, these other units. There is 0.3 of an acre provided as green space in the form of a preserve, which meets the requirements for a commercial MOP, which is 10%. The green space sheet submitted mistakenly labels the green space type as a park in the legend, although it's preserved, so if you guys just want to fix that for posterity later on. We do recommend approval of this with the conditions that they get the ALDOT permit for the installation of that fire hydrant and to provide a recorded copy of the O&M plan.
That washout plan, is that going to be taken care of in permitting or site
Yes.
plan
Yes.
review?
We review those.
So just kind of the updated process there, we'll get a land disturbance permit. As part of that, there is a review of this plan, any corrections that are needed, and then before people really get a chance to get started, there is a site visit to ensure any tree protections, BMPs, are installed and were in operable condition. And then we will be reviewing those, inspecting those throughout the life of the project.
Any further questions for staff at this time?
I think it's, well, it might not be in there, but it's the same one as it was before, and it's in conformance to the one that was approved in 2022.
Is it Joe? I think it was Joe. We'll get you a copy of that one. And if there's any comments before permitting.
What?
Landscape.
In the motion, make it up to, because, when that one was done, I think what Paul's getting at is when that one was done, a lot of buildings were being done and were not meeting the landscape requirements, we're having them subject to. And then at that time, staff was not requiring that they meet the landscape requirements as far as a lot of the shrubs were too short. So if they copy what they did last time, it may not be in compliance. So Paul, if you make a motion after we get to that point, or whoever does, might want to include in that motion that landscape is built to current standards.
2022.
If they're, well, I'm not saying that the standards were wrong in 2022. I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
saying I can drive you like the,
Oh, yeah, I believe you.
the
Yeah,
30
we've seen
buildings
it, I've
where
seen it with our
the
own
shrubs are
eyes.
this tall,
Yeah.
and they're supposed to be 4 feet.
Yeah.
And that's not 4
Or a
feet.
different plant altogether, yeah.
So anyway, I'll go ahead, if there are no further questions at this time for staff, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to speak? In that case, I'll close the public hearing. SC, do y'all have anything to add at this time?
Not really, like y'all were saying, we got it approved, I think, 2.5 years ago. They kind of went quiet, and they got some budgeting numbers, and then they, about 3 months ago, reached back out, so they're about to install the fire hydrant, and they submitted for a permit, and that's when I say, I'm pretty sure y'all have expired. And so reached out to staff, and so we're here to get it reapproved. So everything is exactly as it was in 2022, I understand, and if what Paul's stating, so there shouldn't be an issue. So if y'all need to make the recommendation as such, I'm fine with that.
All right, thank you.
And Larry, if you could just send me that landscape plan. I don't, did we have it in this?
Okay.
We might not have, I think in the old software, when they initially applied for the permit back in 2.5 years ago, I think there was one that way, but
Yeah.
we
Okay.
were in different software.
Yeah.
So if we can just
Yep,
get
we'll give that to you.
Great, thank you.
All right. Commissioners, if there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve SD 2507 MOP, subject to staff recommendations of ALDOT permit for fire hydrant, recorded O&M plan, and a re-review of landscape plan to verify compliance.
Do I have a second? All right, go ahead and give that to Rebecca. Any further discussions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. I like it.